developing inner leadership. So inner leadership is about being true to yourself and doing what you need to do because it is right for you. It focuses on all the key areas that affects people, their relationships, their works, their money, their health, and their values. It offers a number of techniques to help people to move in the direction in which they want to go. These include in help in changing their life stories, replacing negative beliefs with positive ones, and looking at relationship needs. Above all, inner leadership is about helping individuals to connect to the inner world of truth and values so that they can flourish and meet their highest priority needs as a whole person.
这一次我真的睡着了。
A leader. So who is a leader here? Throughout history, there have been numerous leaders who were brutal and destructive. Is that enough to make them leaders? No. A leader, in my opinion, is someone who does more than just guide others. They must be motivated by the proper factors and have a positive influence on others around them. According to Theodore Roosevelt, a leader is an average, everyday person who is highly motivated. It means that a leader is someone who sees how things may be better and rallies others to help them achieve that goal. Leaders can strive towards realizing their goal while prioritizing others. Okay? To be effective, leaders must be sympathetic and connect with others in addition to being able to motivate other people. They do not have to come from the same family or walk in the same footsteps. Future leaders will be increasingly varied, bringing with them a diversity of viewpoints. Others may, of course, disagree with my definition, but the most crucial thing is that organizations' internal definition of leadership are consistent. On this slide number 3, it shows here the difference between boss and leaders. So, the boss, they drives employees, they depends on authority, and they inspires fear, they says I, they places blame for breakdown, they know how it is done, they uses people, they takes credit, they command, and they says go. While leaders, they coaches the people, they are on goodwill, they generate enthusiasm, they says we, they fixes breakdown, they shows how it is done, they develops people, they gives credit, they asks, and they says let's go. The responsibilities of boss versus leaders seem pretty similar at first, but once you compare them side by side, it is easy to see how very different they are. Okay? Both techniques arrive at the same outcome eventually, but the journey getting there might look quite different. While bosses rely on themselves and their own innate ability to think for their team, leaders actually do less while making their employees happier by making them think and work for themselves. So let's move on to leadership. Leadership is defined by what do you do and not your position. Genuine leadership is shown through our everyday interactions with people and the way you influence the lives around you. Leadership is one of those characteristics of a successful man or woman that is never inherited but learned and imbibed into. The term leadership itself can't be defined and it depends on persons to person's perceptions of life. Does leadership means you lead someone by working with them? Does it mean that you make someone work for you? Or does it mean a person become a leader only if he or she has followers? No. It is difficult to give one definition to leadership, but it can safely be said that leadership is important to run this world. Be it a company, a country, a family, or even a small classroom. Leaders around the world, big or small, have played a pivotal role in our lives. Leadership is defined by how well you lead a team into the goals and objectives set by you. It is also defined that the clarity and quality of goals that you set for your followers. It is not easy being a leader. A leader is simply not someone who will please everyone on his way. A leader is someone who has the courage and intent of mind to take tough decisions even if it brings harm to his followers but is in the direction of fulfilling the goals. So there are also a difference between leadership skills and management skills. The leadership skills focus on goals, while the management skills focus on tasks. While the leadership skills, they sell it. On management skills, they tell it. On leadership skills, they take risks, they encourage, they go against the grain, they motivate, and they break the rules. While the management skills, they minimize risks, they instruct, they go with the flow, they approve, and they follow the rules. The terms leadership and management tend to be used interchangeably. Management refers to a company's management structure as its leader or to individuals who are actually managers as the leaders of various management teams. Leadership, however, requires traits that extend beyond management duties. To be effective, a leader certainly has to manage the resources at their disposal. But leadership also involves communicating, inspiring, and supervising. Just to name three more of the primary skills as a leader to have to be successful. The difference between leaders and managers. Leaders win followers, they create change, they persuade, they create team, they make heroes of everyone, they take responsibility, and they exercise power with people. While managers have employee, they have or they need to react to change, they communicate, they direct groups, they try to be heroes, they take credit, they exercise power over people.
Characteristic of leadership. There are 10 characteristics of leadership. Number 1, communication. Effective leadership and effective communication are intertwined. If you're in a leadership position or role, good communication skills are one of the leadership attributes that absolutely crucial. Number 2, empathy. When someone share with you a feeling, listen them and try how you can give them advice or how you can help them. Number 3, confidence. First, you should believe in yourself because it gives you a positive feedback. Number 4, leadership. Being a leader, you should motivate or inspire your audience from your goal, experience, and into success. Number 5, integrity. A leader have a good moral is a good foundation. Number 6, humility. Leaders should be humble. When you are wrong, acknowledge it. When someone in your group have made mistakes, take action to correct any errors. Number 7, creativity. Brainstorming is part of a teamwork. You and your team have sharing what is good or what is much better to do in your plan. Number 8, goal. A leader should have goal in life. When the next move, how to make a plan start, and how can reach your goals. Number 9, accountability. Being accountable leader is no easy task. It means being a leader, you should answer the questions of your action and decisions made by you and by those you lead. You have to own up to commitment and promises that you have made. Number 10, honesty. Honesty is to build trust with your team and honest to yourself. Because a lack of transparency, the result is distrust you. Factors of leadership. There are 4 major factors in leadership called. Number 1, leader. A leader should have goals, time, priorities, effort, plan, faith in God, and trustworthy. Number 2, follower. Follower is a motivator of his leader. A follower is the next in line with his leader to achieve his goals in life. Number 3, communication. Communication to your leader and your follower is important things to both have a strong leadership. And number 4, situation. When your leader have a problem, you as a follower or co-leader, you must help your leader. That is called teamwork.
So here's the 11 principles of leadership. First, know yourself and seek self-improvement. So how will you evaluate yourself? So here are some traits of an effective leader. First, effective communicators. Second, accountable and responsible. Long-term thinkers, self-motivated, confident, people-oriented, emotionally stable. So among these traits, which were your strengths and your weaknesses? You may simply evaluate yourself, but the best way to improve yourself is by asking for someone's opinion. So the second one is technically and tactically proficient. How do we become a technical and tactical proficient leader? I believe that no one can be technically and tactically proficient in just a day, but will become technically and tactically proficient if we apply our technical knowledge and skills in every complex task we face as a leader. Next is develop a sense of responsibility among your subordinates. Being a leader means creating a sense of responsibility among his subordinates and also letting them accountable to that responsibility. In that way, we are showing them that they matter. We'll be able to evaluate one's confidence and respect each other. Next is make sound and timely decisions. How do we make a sound and timely decisions? Whether in time of peace or trouble, a leader must provide a firm and important decision. The goodness of the team is based on how the leader decides in every circumstance. But an efficient leader weighs options, considers possibilities, and make a point target to succeed in every situation. Set an example. Why do you think setting examples are important? Examples are essential. It's a backup, pattern or proof of something. By giving example, it helps you as a leader to uplift or motivate your people. Next is know your people and look out for their welfare. It's not enough to know the names and birth dates of your people. As a leader, we need to understand what motivates them and what is important to them. Showing genuine concern for your people builds trust and respect for you as a leader. So keep your people informed. Start talking about succession planning informally to your key people and get their feedback. People know best when they know what and why they are doing something. Keeping them informed helps them make decisions and execute plan within your goal. So seek responsibility and take responsibility for your actions. When you see a problem that needs to be fixed, do not wait to be told to act. When mistakes happen, a leader must accept just criticism and take corrective actions. Most especially, a leader must not evade responsibility by placing the blame on someone else. So ensure the assigned tasks are understood, supervised, and accomplished. Your people must understand what you want done, to what standard and when. Supervising lets you know if your people understand your instructions, but over-supervision causes resentment. Always let them feel that their accomplishments are appreciated. So train your people as a team. Doing something is more fun and productive if you do it as a team. When your leader never disregard a member, every single idea matter. Allow them to be heard and to be acknowledged. And lastly, employ your team in accordance with its capabilities. Everyone has their own strengths and capabilities. As a leader, let them do things according to their limit, but also allow them to experience some twists or challenges to make them more capable of bigger things ahead of them. The next one is multicultural leadership. As the world decreases with progress in innovation and the worldwide populace turns out to be more different, pioneers need to comprehend that multicultural authority is critical to the development and accomplishment of their associations. We overviewed initiative improvement specialists from around the world to acquire their bits of knowledge about multicultural administrations and the executives' patterns in their nations and all throughout the planet. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Milame Andoy, and we will be talking about what is multicultural leadership. As the world becomes smaller with advances in technology and the global population becomes more diverse, leaders need to understand that multicultural leadership is important to the growth and success of their organizations. Multicultural leadership is the ability to work positively and in harmony with people of many different cultures. We must also adapt this in the tourism industry in order to provide better customer service. The ability to manage diversity properly may allow organizations to increase their customer service levels significantly. Organizations that invest in their workers' ability to communicate across cultures and comprehend the characteristics of a varied consumer base get a competitive advantage over their competitors. It is very important that each manager of the tourism and hospitality enterprises possesses the multicultural leadership. Multicultural leaders. They work to create and maintain a safe, accepting, and respectful workplace with creative, innovative, and productive employees. This will benefit both of you and your co-workers, making things easy for both of you. Success is a result of effective communication. primary responsibility of the multicultural leader is to dismantle barriers that impede the career development of any aspiring leader regardless of race, gender, and sexuality. Workers of both genders are entitled to the same benefits, opportunities, and resources as their male and female counterparts. Equality of salary and benefits for equivalent positions with similar duties. Equal chances for advancement in one's career. Equal attention for each individual's situation. There are some traits of an exceptional multicultural leaders. These are: great leaders resist being ethnocentric. Great leaders plan ahead for cultural differences. Great leaders foster personal connections and relationships while building trust. And lastly, great leaders have high cultural intelligence. Inner leadership is about inspiring people to do what needs to be done. Inner leadership is about being true to yourself and doing what you need to do because it is right for you. It doesn't matter to the inner leader whether they have followers or not. Their own inner vision is what counts for them. And if the inner leader truly honors and values him or herself, then they will honor and value others as well. Key traits and qualities of successful leaders. Honesty and integrity are two important ingredients which make a good leader. How can you expect your followers to be honest when you lack these qualities yourself? Leaders succeed when they stick to their values and core beliefs, and without ethics, this will not be possible. Confidence. As a leader, you have to be oozing with confidence. Show some swag and assertiveness to gain the respect of your subordinates. This does not mean that you should be overconfident, but you should at least reflect the degree of confidence required to ensure that your followers trust you as a leader. Commitment and passion. Your teams look up to you, and if you want them to give them their all, you will have to be passionate about it. If they feel that you are not fully committed or lacks passion, then it will be an uphill task for the leader to motivate your followers to achieve the goal. Good communicator. A good communicator can be a good leader. Words have the power to motivate people and make them do the unthinkable if you use them effectively. You can also achieve better results. Decision-making capabilities. Decision-taking by leaders have a profound impact on masses. A leader should think long and hard before taking a decision, but once the decision is taken, stand by it. Accountability. Make sure that every one of your subordinates is accountable for what they are doing. If they do well, give them a pat on the back, but if they struggle, make them realize their mistakes and work together to improve. Holding them accountable for their actions will create a sense of responsibility among your subordinates, and they will go about the business more seriously. Delegation and empowerment. It is important for a leader to focus on key responsibilities while leaving the rest to the others. Delegate the tasks to your subordinates and see how they perform. Provide them with all the resources and support they need to achieve the objective and give them a chance to bear the responsibility. Creativity and innovation. In order to get ahead in today's fast-paced world, a leader must be creative and innovative at the same time. Creative thinking and constant innovation is what makes you and your team stand out from the crowd. And lastly, empathy. Leaders should develop empathy with their followers. Unfortunately, most leaders follow a dictatorial style and neglect empathy altogether. Due to this, they fail to make a closer connection with their followers. Understanding the problems of your followers and feeling their pain is the first step to become an effective leader.
Good day everyone, I am Jillian and for today, we will be discussing to you the lesson 4 which is the culture and the cultural conditioning. But before that, let me first give you the learning objectives of these lessons. The learning objectives of these lessons are: number 1 is to recognize the elements of culture and how cultural conditioning comes about. Number 2 is to identify some of your own cultural values and biases. Number 3 is to identify how cultural values and conditioning can affect your interpretation of events and behavior. And lastly is to classify more about others' culture and impact on their behavior. To begin with, let's first define what is culture. Culture is the complex of elaborated system of meanings and behaviors that define the way of life for a community. So, culture, it is shared, learned, symbolic, and emergent. It also varies from one society to another. In addition, culture provides important social and economic benefits, with improved learning and health, increased tolerance and opportunities to come together with others. Culture enhances our quality of life and increases overall well-being for both individuals and communities. So, let's move on to the next one. So, why culture is important? Do you know why? It is because culture is a strong part of people's lives. It influences their views, their values, their humor, and hopes. So, when you are working with others and you have to build a relationship with them, it helps to have some perspective and deep understanding of their own cultures. So, let's move on to the next topic. Do you know that there are 5 characteristics of a culture? The first is, number 1, culture is learned. Number 2 is culture is shared. Number 3 is culture is based on symbol. Number 4 is culture is integrated. And lastly is culture is dynamic. Culture is learned. Culture is not genetic, meaning we are not born with culture. We can learn culture both formally and informally. For example, we learn our religion formally through an institution such as churches or mosques. We learn our history and language at schools through history lessons and English lessons. But we can learn our language informally and unconsciously from our family, friends, and the media. Culture is shared. Culture is something that a group of people shares, meaning it's either it is shared practices or shared understandings. Culture is shared between members of a group, meaning they all think and behave the same way because they grew up in the same culture. Culture is based on symbols, and culture is spread from generation to generation through symbols. People learn their culture's behaviors and beliefs through symbols, meaning culture can be thought of as a collection of symbolic knowledge that people in a society shares. Culture is integrated, meaning culture is a complex system and made up of many parts that are interconnected and related to each other. Some examples of the parts of the culture are education, marriage, technology, economics, religion, and language. Culture is dynamic, meaning culture is not static. They change over time, but why do they change? One way they change is through diffusion. But what is diffusion? Diffusion is the spreading of any ideas or thing between cultures. Cultural elements are either the direct productions of a group or elements that is borrowed, integrated, and potentially adopted from another group through group-level interactions such as conquest, for instance. So let's move on to the last topic, which is the type of cultural elements. The types of cultural elements are symbols, values, norms, rituals, and language. Symbols. Every culture is filled with symbols or things that represent something else, and it opens the book various emotions and reactions. Some symbols are types of nonverbal communication, and some symbols are in fact material objects. Language. Language is a medium or an instrument which is used to express one's view and to keep forward on one's opinions. Norms. The very important element of a culture is norms. It is because it decides the rules and regulations of a society. Values are another important element of a culture, and it involves judgment of what is good or bad, what is desirable to undesirable, and a culture's values shape its norm. And lastly, rituals. Different cultures also have different rituals that often marks the transitions in the life course. As such, rituals both reflect and transmit the culture's norms and other elements from one generation to the next.
Good evening guys! So for today's lesson, we're going to tackle about the multiple cultural words and its cultural differences. But first, let's start and talk about the multiculturalism or multicultural words. So, as a descriptive term, multiculturalism refers to cultural diversity where two or more groups with distinct beliefs, culture exist in a society. So it can also reverse government policy as a formal recognition of the cultural distinctness of particular groups. So, and it implies a positive endorsement of cultural diversity. Multicultural society. It is a society where people of different races, cultures, and traditions live in side by side with mutual respect. So, how really important multiculturalism in one society? So, multiculturalism is important to society because each society consists of people from different ethnic backgrounds, cultures, and religions living and working together. So, in multiculturalism, there has advantage and disadvantages. So, for advantages, when people learn about different ways of life, it helps break down barriers between ethnic groups which are caused by ignorance because some of the people or human beings have a tendency to be suspicious of cultures they do not understand. So second, living with different culture brings a better understanding of cultures, enrich our lives, and help to encourage tolerance. And for the disadvantages, cultural differences can divide a society. This can lead a prejudice and discrimination towards minorities. So second, there will always be crises to think the religion and culture is right and that other beliefs and culture are wrong. So third, these people try to blame ethnic minorities for social and economic problems even when it's not true. And because of different opinions, there sometimes happen misunderstanding and create a trouble. So let's move on to our next topic, which is differences of cultures. So to define the differences of culture, it is beliefs, attitudes, languages, practices, and expression that are regarded unique to individuals to a given intensity, race, or national origin are known as cultural distinction. So what are the types of cultural differences? Within any one nation or culture, differences between people are significantly higher than differences across group. So human behavior and culture are influenced by a variety of elements such as education, social status, religion, personality, belief structure, prior experience, affection display in the home, and a variety of other things. What is the most important of cultural differences? So, I think by increasing your cultural awareness or understanding of what other cultures, it allows you to have more meaningful interaction with those around you. So, you're developing your empathy and regard for those others. So, as well as celebrating your differences and commonalities, as a result, you are less inclined to treat someone differently simply because they are of a different culture or ethnicity. So to give you some idea or knowledge, travel. So why travel is connected to culture differences? So simply because, in my opinion, living or traveling among various culture is one of the best way to learn about experience them. So it may take some time to save, but organizing a vacation to a nation you're interested is one of the finest way to learn about different cultures.
So good evening everyone. I am Brooksheld Castor and I will be tackled about cultural conditioning. So it is the environment in which you grow up to create your personality. Example, your friends, family, neighborhood, instructors, and culture are the most significant influencers. So your worldview, the way you think, speak, and act, religious views, what you consider right and wrong, what you eat, and how you dress are all examples of cultural conditioning. So let's talk about this word, cultural conditioning. So, we can condition depending on our environment. We can go to work and we can join a company one way and we can become like everybody else. We can condition to respond in the environment we are in. When that happens, you cease to be you. You give up some of your values and give up some of your identity and the way to maturity. The way you grow, the way to adding value to yourself is knowing who you want to be and not allowing culture to condition you. So it seems like the saying, follow the trend. So example in school, one of the culture or trained by students is okay to cheat. And if you don't keep up with others or their culture, it means you are a killjoy person. In that sentence, the only thing I want to convey is to be yourself because of cultural conditioning. You lose who you are and what you really want to be. Because if you don't follow what cultures your group has, you feel like you don't belong, and because of that, you can't be yourself anymore.
So there are two majorities of conditioning. So the first one is a childhood conditioning and the second one is an adult conditioning. So in childhood conditioning,
Infants and small children learn basic life skills such as feeding, walking, talking, dressing, and bathing. While in adult conditioning, people acquire new behaviors or new ways to previously conditioned habits, such as how to use Turkish toilet or how to eat with their hands instead of silverware. So these are the steps of cultural conditioning. On the other hand, adult conditioning may take longer since it necessitates the unlearning or an acquisitions of behavior that has already been gained through childhood conditioning. So it has 5 steps or process. So in the first process is the observation or instruction. So eating with your hands is an example of this first stage. You may have watched how it is done or someone may have taught you how it is done. So it is the act or activity of actively watching someone or something you've recently become aware of and are probably intently observing but not yet eating, or you are not yet doing it. So now we will proceed to the next process, which is imitation. So now you actually try to carry out the activity. You sit down at a table and begin eating with your hands. So at this stage, it is awkward for you and you're conscious all the while of what you are doing. So trying not to make mistakes. Because your whole attention is focused on the process of eating, you are most likely unable to eat and talk at the same time. So, in imitation, it is like you are learning it. You are copying what others doing, and it is like you are copying the words, facial expressions, or actions of another person. So as you eat, people encourage you when you do it right and correct you when you are wrong. So over the course of meal, you naturally try to do what they tell you. So this is reinforcement. Is it something you've tried once or twice but haven't quite mastered? And also, you know the right and wrong doings. And it is like you are trying but sometimes you still doing it wrong. So you are being corrected. In the fourth one, you now know how to eat with your hands without much effort and without any encouragement. But you will still need to pay attention to what you are doing, but not to the level that you did in stages 2 and 3. So this is internalization. In internalization, it is something you've recently mastered it and you know what you are doing. So, and also, you are observing the things that you don't know in stage 2 and 3. And in the last stage, you can now eat properly without paying attention to what you are doing. So it comes effortlessly and you are more conscious of other things than the act of eating while you eat. So it is a spontaneous manifestation. It is something you do without even thinking about it. And you are doing it naturally. So we will now proceed to the next topic, which is a workplace exclusion. So it happens when we socially exclude some workers from certain work activities, such as refusing to invite them to lunch. From a social standpoint, this sounds acceptable, but it makes some individuals feel alone at work, as if they have no one to talk to or someone to support them if they need it. So in today's society and workplace, stereotypes are a huge problem. Stereotypes are social identity-based ideas that impact what individuals know, believe, and expect from others. So it has an impact on how individuals view and behave one another at work, resulting in false assumptions about others based on their group membership. So as a result, it is vital to deconstruct stereotypes in the workplace and resist their use. Fairness and equity in the workplace are more likely if workplace misunderstanding can be addressed. And it is made assumptions about another group of people or its individual members based on generalization. So although such generalizations can be accurate, they are frequently incorrect because they are founded on faulty information and are hard to change. Even when stereotypes are inaccurate, people can attach significant emotion to them, and they are frequently used stereotypes to explain their hate of someone.
A great evening to all of you. I'm Trisha Santos and my topic is all about mapping stereotyping. So first, prejudice. Prejudice is an assumption or an opinion about someone simply based on that person's membership to a particular group. If someone is acting under prejudices, they are prejudging, hence the term prejudice, someone before they even get a chance to know them on a deeper level. They paint every individual who holds particular characteristics or beliefs and fail to really look at each person as a unique individual. So now let's go to the types of prejudice. As mentioned, a prejudice attitude can be based on a number of factors including sex, race, age, sexual orientation, nationality, socioeconomic status, and religion. So the first one is sexism. Sexism can be a belief that one sex is superior or more valuable than another sex. It imposes limits on what a person can and cannot do on the basis of gender. Here's a short video for us to understand more of sexism.
Sexism exists everywhere. It exists in the way we speak, the words we write, the images we create, and the way we act. It impacts women differently, and to a greater extent than men. It's around us from childhood, with boys encouraged to run, jump, and be active, and girls socialized into passive, pleasing, ladylike behavior. It hits out at us from bus stop advertising, magazine covers, toys, computer games, or pictures posted on the wall at work. It's there in the home, where women still perform far more unpaid work than men. It's in the workplace, where women are ignored and silenced, passed over for promotion, penalized for having a family. It exists each time a victim of sexual violence is told in a court that she was asking for it. It's present each time a sportswoman is portrayed as a wife and mother, or asked to conform to a girly, sexy stereotype and her sports achievements are downplayed. It's there when girls drop out of sport because they're told they don't have the right body. It exists when men who look after their children are ridiculed. It exists every time politicians who are women are silenced by jokes or comments about their appearance. It spreads its poison through social media, with women and girls silenced and degraded through vicious, sexualized attacks. Sexism is not just an attack on women, it's an attack on everyone. It leads to societies that are not safe for everyone to thrive, with no space for diverse voices, talents, or leadership. At worst, it creates a climate that leads to violence and murder. That's why the Council of Europe has come up with the world's first legal text addressing sexism in all its forms. We're taking a stand against sexism. Will you?
So, the next one is racism. Racism, which is also called racialism, can be the belief that humans may be divided into separate and exclusive biological entities called races, and that some races are innately superior to others. The term is also applied to political, economic, or legal institutions and systems that engage in or perpetuate discrimination on the basis of race or otherwise reinforce racial inequalities in wealth, education, healthcare, civil rights, and other areas. Ethnic prejudice. Negative stereotyping and scapegoating of entire ethnic groups is based on inaccurate, incomplete, or oversimplified information. Ethnic discrimination involves negative actions or behaviors toward people or groups solely because of their ethnicity. Discriminatory actions include restrictions on job opportunities, education, religious worship, housing, and many others. ISMs. ISMs are used in reference to beliefs and practices that oppress some groups while advantaging others. Other ISMs includes ageism, classism, homophobia, or anti-gay prejudice. Besides ethnic minorities and women, groups that experience discrimination in the workplace include persons with disabilities, gay persons, older employees, and obese persons. Managing cultural diversity in organization. So the question is, why is cultural diversity important? A culturally diverse workplace empowers people to develop their talents and skills. A range of ideas and expertise enables those to learn from a more diverse collection of colleagues. Becoming a diversity-savvy person. Savvy leaders in forward-thinking companies value diverse employees for the unique contributions they make to the company. They are crafting an inclusive and multicultural approach to managing diversity. An approach that welcomes all types of employees, which appreciates and nurtures them. So, the first step in becoming a savvy leader is, first, to become aware of culture. Cultural awareness is the understanding that our own culture differs from one individual and group. It helps us break down cultural barriers and appreciate those different from us. We can relate better to people with cultural differences as we begin to understand ourselves better. This results in more cultural connection and less cultural conflict. Next is learn about your own culture. Now that we understand a bit more about how culture is defined and the dimensions that make up specific cultures, let's bring it back to you. Self-awareness is an integral component to navigating the world more comfortably. The third one is recognize your biases. Everyone has some form of implicit or unconscious bias we absorb from a very young age. One of the main benefits of recognizing your own biases is that it challenges people to see things from a different perspective. It challenges people to think about why they think a certain way and what they can do to change it. So, the fourth one is learn about other cultures. It is important to understand that everyone has ways of operating in the world that are a direct result of their upbringing. Developing cultural competence begins by understanding that working with these differences rather than resisting them can unlock the potential of your best employees. And last, build interaction skills. The best way to practice effective communication in a multicultural environment is by keeping an open mind, have some knowledge of cultural differences, and practice active listening. People with interpersonal skills also tend to make good leaders because of their ability to communicate with and motivate those around them. So, managing cultural diversity has dealt with various types of organization that identified in 4 perspectives, and the first one is diversity blindness. Diversity blindness is a perspective wherein the organization take no actions to recognize and address issues relating to diversity. It does not ensure that the workplace has an inclusive environment that maximizes the benefits of the differences of its workers and presents equitable opportunities to all applicants and employees. The second one is diversity hostility. An example of this is color blindness. This is a popular diversity ideology that on the surface reflects pro-diversity intentions, but in reality it suppresses diversity and elevates sameness. I don't see color and we're all one race, the human race are common expressions of color blindness. It erases the plausibility of race as a cause for mistreatment, thus making it more difficult to avoid or resolve racial bias. The third one is diversity naivete. This one means that the organization knows and are culturally aware but it is not ready and does not have enough knowledge to handle and create solutions to future problems and conflicts that may arise due to diversity issues within its people. And lastly, diversity integration. Diversity has come to mean having a culture that values uniqueness. Inclusion means inviting diverse groups and ensuring that people with different viewpoints, cultures, genders, and races can take part in company life.